Hello guys, and welcome to another video on the channel. In today's video I will answer a question: can Nigerians sell on Etsy? Now, as somebody that's been selling on Etsy since 2019, I think I'm in the perfect condition to answer this question. Now, the short answer is no, whereas the long answer is yes, but you have to fulfill a lot of requirements. You understand? So now, in order for you to sell on Etsy, the problem is not that you are a Nigerian. The problem does not have to do with your biology as a Nigerian. It actually has to do with your where the country you are based. You understand? It has to do with the country you are based, and it also has to do with legal requirements and documentations. And those are the things I'm going to be covering in this video. Now, in the past, like 2019, 2020, you could create an account on Etsy and start selling from your house in Nigeria. But all that has changed. All that changed after COVID-19 because a lot of people flooded the market and started putting on a lot of products that weren't up to standard, and there are a lot of fraud and scam, and that prompted Etsy to start doing a lot of background check before accepting people, and it also made them to cut off a lot of countries from their radar of sellers. And unfortunately, Nigeria was one of those countries that was cut off from that, and you can't sell if you're based in Nigeria. So now, what are the requirements for you to create a store on Etsy, and how can you go about it even as a Nigerian? Now, the first thing is you need your full name and an address. Everybody has a full name. Now, the question now is the address. The address has to be based in a country that's eligible for sales on Etsy. I'm going to be leaving a link of all the countries that are eligible for to sell on Etsy, and Nigeria is not part of that. So as long as you have your Nigerian home address, you cannot put it on Etsy to sell. You can't even see Nigeria as a country that you want to create an account for when you want to create a store. So that's where the problem is. When you see the drop down of all the countries, you can't see Nigeria to choose. So you need your name and address. That's the first requirement. Now the second requirement is you need a bank account. Now the bank account must be of a country that is eligible. You understand? So for instance, if you're based in Nigeria, let's say even if there's a way where you see Nigeria, you can't put a Nigerian bank account. It's not recognized in what we call Etsy payment. So Etsy payment is how you get paid on Etsy. It's how you register to get paid on Etsy. And they are not all countries are eligible. Only countries that are eligible to sell on Etsy are eligible for Etsy payments, and Nigeria is not part of those countries. But now you could also bypass that. For instance, you could use a platform like Play, or you could use all these online platforms like Pioneer to get a foreign account. But ideally it should be of a country that's eligible to sell. Now, the once you get the bank account, another requirement for you to sell on Etsy is you must have a tax identification number, and a taxpayer identification number, and your taxpayer identification number must be of the country that your bank account is located in. That's the requirement. You understand? So if you're based in the US, if your bank is based in the US, your taxpayer identification number must be of the US. If you say you should be your if the bank account you put is in the UK, then you have to put your VAT ID. So this is also another requirement. And as in Nigeria, you cannot have a taxpayer identification number when you are not working in an eligible country. You understand? An example of this taxpayer identification number could be your SSM, your social security number. It could be the individual taxpayer identification number. It can also be an EIN, which is an employee identification number for people who have businesses in the US, you understand? But in the UK, it has to be your VAT ID. So that is why, as a Nigerian, you don't have this document, so you can't actually create a store from Nigeria and say you want to say. But I'm going to watch the video to the end because I'm going to show you how you can bypass all of this and go ahead. Now, the next requirement is you need to have a valid ID of the country in which your store is located, or in which you created your store from. And this is, I'm talking about your passport or your driver's license. You cannot be in Nigeria and have a driver's license in the US. You understand? So you have to have that valid ID, because you're going to go through a biometric verification through the Etsy persona merger. I've made a video on that. Etsy persona. Etsy verify the background and identity of every seller using persona. So once you have all of this, I'm sure you can now create an account. Am I missing out on something? I'm not missing out on anything. Okay. So these are the requirements which you need as somebody who wants to sell on Etsy. Okay. I talked about you have your full name and address. You have to have a valid bank account of an eligible country. You have to have a taxpayer identification number of the country in which your bank is located in. You understand? Then I also said you need to have, I can't remember the last point I said you need to have, but you can always check back this video. So valid ID, I remember valid ID. You have to have a valid identification, which can be a passport or a driver's license. So as a Nigerian, how can you go about creating an account on Etsy? You have to travel out of Nigeria, probably get an employment, get social security number, get a driver's license, get a bank account, and also do what? Get your valid ID, identification number, taxpayer ID. When you have all of these, that is when you can now be eligible to create an account and start selling on Etsy. But if you don't have all of these and you have somebody in the US or an eligible country that has all of these documentations, then you can form a partnership with them. They will create it with their own bank account, their own taxpayer ID, all of the details. The store will be at their name. Then probably reach an agreement with them. Maybe you could be exporting goods to them, they sell, and you guys share the commission. You understand? Because I mean, I'm just giving you an idea. You could be export African products to the US, they sell, deliver, and all that, handle shipping, while you guys split the difference. So that's the only way. Outside of this, any other way, your store is going to get banned and it's going to get suspended. So guys, there you have it. I just answered this question because I keep getting it. How can Nigerians sell on Etsy? Can Nigerians make money on Etsy? Directly you cannot, but if you have all of these verification, then you can. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, let me know what you think of your experience with selling on Etsy. Peace and God bless.